Vice Chair Lee.
Would you join me in an invocation? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the blessings of this day. Thank you for this opportunity we have to review the matters at hand. For all these many blessings, we thank you. Amen. And would you join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Causey?
Mr. Chairman, I guess you will need to approve the agenda. Under item 1, it says no action required. I would like to amend that to action requested when we get to that point in time. And then we will be ready to proceed if the board approves the agenda.
We need a motion to
Yes, sir.
approve the agenda that's presented in front of us. I make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Show it unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, the first order of business that we have today is to have the architect present a review of the 9/11 and emergency services plan. I will tell you that the major part of this group has been here since 11 o'clock this morning, undergoing review and having discussions on the plan. I would like to share with you that ADW is the architect of record on this project. Mr. Paul Bonsall is here and will be making the presentation. He also has Mr. Alberto Torres with him, who is assisting him today. The comment I would like to make is they went through a pretty vigorous process in order to be selected for this project. And from my standpoint, I'm extremely pleased with the work of the architect and their attention to detail to this point. In addition to that, I also want to recognize our other partners from an organizational standpoint is MCP, and we've got Mr. Philip Henney and Mr. Craig Schultz in the back, and we certainly want to acknowledge them. And they have also been extremely helpful and done a very good job to date. I will invite Mr. Bonsall, wherever he is, to come forward, and I won't get into it. He wants to be flexible with what you want to do, and he wants to tell you all that you want to know, but not more than you want to hear. And I think at some point in time, we have done some looking. It may be helpful, and he may suggest that he allow y'all to go down and look at 3 or 4 sheets of plans, because it just is visually better, I think, than trying to look at the maps up here. With that, I'm extremely proud of the work that they have done. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bonsall.
Well, I'm Paul Bonsall, and my associate here is Alberto Torres in the back, as well as MCP, which he mentioned earlier. I've got a couple of handouts that I've given you, as well as we have the drawings, as Mr. Causey said, and it's 122 sheets of drawings and a various level of detail, and it would, we spent several hours going through it this morning, so I'm sure that this is not the correct venue for you to, we can do whatever you want, but you may find it somewhat tedious to go through all that. In addition to that, we have what's called the project manual, which is that book that you see there, which describes the building and the building process in much more detail. The building itself is 35,600 and some change square feet, and it is a facility for 911 emergency services and emergency services vehicles. We have 2 cost estimates before you. The one that's called Design Development Estimate Summary is sort of a 50% swipe at what we think the building would cost, and this was done back in August, I believe. This one that's called Construction Document Estimate Summary is very recent. I think we actually received it, the first version of this, on the 4th, and have gone through it a couple times with the estimator, making sure we understand everything. And so we're on version 3 right here. There are some stark differences between the two. If you just look at the cover sheets there, we've sort of added things up a little bit differently, and I'll explain that as we go. But the the bottom line of this is the total site work and remediation and building in the latest summary is $14,488.06 or 48, 40.
We'll take it. Can I sign that check right now?
And that doesn't go to me, by the way, that goes to the contractor.
Whomever, can you get that check for me? I'm ready.
Okay, so you see that number, and it's gone up about $436,000 from the last time, our original, or it was actually our second swipe at what that number is. But this one is a far more detailed and far more accurate look at that. And this is based upon the latest drawings and what we consider our final drawings. That is not to say that things about them cannot be changed. So this is our opinion on what we think that the building and the site construction is going to be for the project. There are many other expenses involved with that, and I think Mr. Causey can go through those with you. And they involve a lot of the tech. First of all, the big ticket items are the technology that are involved in the 911 building, and that's a larger piece, and I'm sure you're aware of those costs. But there will be other equipment costs, furniture costs, and some other things that are outside of our contract. So that's the gist of that. That summary is divided into site work and building, and if you compare the two estimates that we have here, most of the cost in the overall construction portion of the project happened in the site work. And as you know, we have a fairly mushy site. It's got a lot of, it's a former agricultural site. It's got a lot of topsoil, and then what's underneath it is not really great bearing strata for us to build upon. So we have to do something about that. We've gone through a number of surveys with geotechnical engineers and done geophysical assessments of the project and looked at it in terms of not only its basic structural integrity, but also how it would be affected by seismic events. So a lot of things are going on with that, and we were able to redetermine a few things with that. So we've engineered the building specifically to the site, as every site is, but we've had an uphill struggle with that. And as we have gotten into the project, this is where a lot of the additional expense is occurring. You may see that the building looks like it went down about $500,000, but actually what happened there is that when you look under the number one allowance called contingency allowance, we pulled that number or something like that number directly out of that and listed it in allowance as opposed to it being actually in the building. So those two numbers are really still very consistent with one another, very close. I think maybe within about $70,000 of one another. So most of the work has gone into the site work. And then the list that comes down there in the old estimate, there's a part called site remediation, import, fill, and dewatering soil stabilization. When you go to the other estimate, the newer estimate, you'll see the allowances 2 through 6. This is a clarification of what that other one means. And as we got more into detail of how much those things actually cost and what the actual scope of that was, those numbers changed and some more money went into that portion of it. But when you add 2 through 6 together, I think it comes into, it's about $650,000. So those two numbers are not that far off considering the scope of what we have to do in that. So all told, those things sort of come together, and we're so now about $436,000 ahead of, more expensive than we were before. So that's where we stand on that. If you want to get into the depth of these, I'll be happy to do that. It gets in terms of how an estimate is done, but it is a professional one that we've used consistently and many times before. We have a lot of faith in his numbers. But as I say, this is an opinion, a learned opinion as to how the building's going to shake out. Do you have any questions on that portion of it?
Would it be helpful if I offered you a little information to put this in perspective with the total project? To help you, what he is saying is the price on the building that he is talking about at point in time is $430,000 increase in cost. We had originally projected a budget of $18,571,000, and that included the construction, his construction cost less $430,000. That certainly is a concern, but at some point in time, we have got to bring the rest of the budget back in line with the equipment and the inventory and furniture and things of that nature, architects' costs and fees that will be going into it. But we do have some contingencies built into this that can offset some of it. I'm not suggesting to you that we will not have a challenge, but my suggestion is that probably is a pretty reliable figure for now, and we can move forward to then determine at a later date what we might need to do to adjust, if anything. Does that make sense? You know, once we go going forward, you're not making a commitment to anything other than hopefully when we get finished with this presentation to approve the plans and maybe authorize us to go ahead and put the project out for bids, if that helps any.
Okay.
He is just giving you his latest current cost estimate at the time, so we won't be, hopefully, have sticker shock.
So I do have two questions, but just so what is the action, Mr. Causey, you require of us?
If after he goes through presenting and talking about the plans, we're hoping that you will generally approve the plans and authorize the architect to put the project out for bids. And there's subsequent actions such as going to the local government commission and getting approval, and whatever financing we need has to be put in place. But at some level, I think David would agree, local government commission is probably going to want to see what the final project budget is in order to be able to give the go-ahead on whatever it is that we do.
And have we floated it to the LGC?
No, not with any application or anything like that. We're going to get that process started to calendar an appearance for them for an application for them to consider.
Perfect. That's wonderful. So yes, so because we, I mean, I'm sure, but I mean, you know, we got to get there. Blessing. That's good. And do commissioners want to, so is the next step to go down and look at the plans?
That's
What's the next step?
Well, I'm absolutely prepared to do that. Like I said, it's 122 drawings or something like that. I can go through as many of them as you want me to. I think probably a big overview of what the overall project is going to look like, the floor plan and some elevations of what we're doing, and some basic understanding of the pieces of the project. Maybe take 10 minutes to do it if you want to come down here.
For me, if there's just an elevation of the front and what it's going to look like, I mean, that's, I don't need to go much past
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But now commissioners welcome to dig into them. They're duplicates, right?
Yes, those are
So
the same set,
We can do two at a time.
right?
And you said you had
Mr. Torres.
Mr. Torres.
Yeah.
Y'all could man those stations.
Right.
All right. Who's the first? Just, we can work in this order, Ms. Lee and Commissioner Godwin, or did you have something before we went down there, Commissioner? Yeah, let's take, and then Vice Chair Lee and I can we'll take it, if that's okay with everybody. Now, Mr. Causey, so I was working on, and since I'm not down there, remind me the name of our good friend.
The architect is Mr. Paul Bonsall, Bonsall.
What's the name of his company?
And Mr. Alberto Torres,
Torres. What's the name of their company?
ADW Architects.
A for D. And they sent it out for bid, RFP. to a general,
Excuse me?
for a general contract.
Yes, yes.
And in Mr. Kivett's absence, I'll ask his questions.
Okay.
Or him.
As you should.
Are they, there was another firm though that we had used.
MCP they're the ones working with us on the technology of how all that stuff in the 911 center works and making sure that they generally meet the requirements. So they're working in.
Is that, because we may have talked with them, I
Yes,
think.
yes, yes.
All right, and North Carolina companies?
Yes,
Both.
yes, sir.
I think that covers main question.
To answer this question, if you're saying that your building cost estimate is $430,000 more, you have a right to be concerned. But at the same time, the estimate also represents what we think is a close proximity to what's going to be built. And then again, when you get into the site work, there may be other adjustments out of contingency we could make or whatever. I am concerned about it, but I'm not seeing that as anything that potentially is not workable unless all of our costs begin to run on us. That makes sense.
Well, it's $400,000 on 14 million or 18 million.
14 million.
So let's see what that math is. 'Cause I can't do it in my head. Two and a half percent. As you go, Mr. Causey, though, if you're holding costs down and you want to, within this budget, you want to, for instance, and I'll ask them when I get down there, but our Achilles heel in Sampson County is roofs.
It's what?
Roofs.
Right.
Is it an A or a flat?
It's basically flat.
Those
Because we went through that at the last session with Mr. Kivett. It's got some slope on it, but it's basically what you would call a flat roof.
those membranes, they sure do seem to.
But as I recall, it was close to $1 million more to put A-frames on there. It was extremely expensive with I can't remember who was there with Mr. Kivett, but I think maybe we better just take that off. But that was one of the things.
Mr. Kidd said that.
Well, we need to reduce costs. He wasn't telling us.
Those roofs, they're in about 10 years, whoever's, which more than likely won't be us, we'll be giving them the gift that keeps giving. Seems as though it's been passed along that way. I don't know if I'm trying to break the cycle. For $1 million, I get it.
I guess that sounded right. I'm looking at $25,000 to put a metal roof on my home on the farm.
Oh, Lord.
But I decided I wanted metal. I'm going with the 24 gauge, so it's, but I believe I'll be happier with it.
What's the end of the discussion, right?
I'll be done with it. Certainly for my lifetime.
These compound shingles, these roofs frustrate me. But anyway. Vice Chair Lee, were you here when Commissioner Kivett, and did you meet with him originally?
The last one, I was on, it was a Zoom meeting.
She came to one that was intensive, and we decided,
Down to the square inch of concrete, and I was really into the weeds. Really?
Well, if it's been blessed, then I won't do too.
well, the reason I wanted to do this is looking at what we were showing on the screen this morning. If I walked up to the screen, I couldn't read it.
Vice Chair Lee.
Are you sure?
Just as sure as Ed Cosby's got on Christmas especially.
I love them.
I like it. Beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
This is a
What do you think?
It's good, yeah. The cost. Yeah, that helps. Because of what the project is.
This part of the face fell on Hanging Street.
So when he was, is it, are they taking in, because I know he said he was gonna do some new watering, I get that. Did he say they were going, had seismic evaluations for potential?
I think all that testing has been done.
Busy day. Not usually a lot, but we.
What did you do, what were you determining?
For the seismic geophysical testing we had, the original assessment of it being as seismic site class E, which is pretty bad. And so we did some additional geophysical testing on it, and they were confirmed through that and black magic, however they do that, that we should regrade that seismic site class D. That ended up reducing size footings. Well, if we really didn't change the site, what we were able to do was determine the first one was an estimate, the second one was really drilling down to find out. And I think they actually, one of we ended up actually changing the determination.
Grade from A to B.
Oh, yeah, the grade change, and we had documentation of that we attached it. Okay, sorry. Yes. Let's see, put that exact number for what was in the previous sheet. Well, it's all the heated, this is actually outside. These are, this is really sort of a cover driving area for restocking. Yes, here, these bays are not. Site plan here. Here's how we're cited. Front entry, parking. Elevations. Various materials. We have brick, some metal siding. Metal siding. This material is shot blast CNC. Concrete block, but it's got a finish on it. So it's like a full mat.
You're asking the wrong man.
You think we need a motion?
Yeah, you do need to authorize us to bid it, yes. Approve, y'all need to also approve the plans and authorize us to bid it. Huh?
We didn't get it right.
Yes, sir.
Soon as Vice Chair leaves, you turn.
What do you think, Commissioner?
I think it's great.
Thank you.
I think it's amazing what $14 million will get you. Good gracious. Are there any other questions or comments for Mr. Bonsall or Mr. Torres or anyone? Hearing none, Mr. County Attorney, we need a motion to approve the plans for the 911 center and ES facilities.
And to allow staff to proceed with bidding the project and seeking the required financing for LGC. I think the board has already given approval for the LGC financing aspect of it, but include all that in that motion.
Okay, do we need to include the,
Approval of the plans,
Yep.
proceed with bidding the project.
Yep.
And seek the required financing approval from the local government commission.
is there a motion?
Make such a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, is that sufficient?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. You're unanimous. Thank y'all. Thank you, good people. I realize don't you take our brevity as a sign that we're not super appreciative of all y'all's hard work, because I know there was a lot of hard work, a lot of time, and so we're appreciative of it. Thank y'all. Perfect. Okay, let's see. So is there anyone to speak to the budget amendment or?
I'm going to allow Mr. Starling to talk about that.
Oh, Mr. Starr.
Chairman, this is a request by the sheriff's office to transfer $5,000 out of their federal asset forfeiture revenue so that they can make a donation to the Sampson County Child Advocacy Center. That's a 501c3 in Sampson County that provides services to child victims of various different things. That is an allowable use of those funds under applicable regulation.
Is there any questions or comments for County Attorney Starling? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the budget amendment as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Show unanimous of the present member. Okay, so just as a housekeeping order, we will return in session January the 4th. That is correct. Well, just in case I don't get to see everyone, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Appreciate all the work. And if there are any other comments, now's the time, because as they like to say at the auction, the hammer's high.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make such a motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. We're adjourned for 2020. See y'all in 2021.
2021.
Now, Miss Holder, it would be a shocker if we,
Ray Jordan has to have this to apply for a grant.
is blue sufficient or would you like me to use?
I know you will. I know you will.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.